I want to do a talk. I'm here with Mikey. Say hi, Mikey. Hi, Mikey.
Hi.
Hi. We're going to do a talk on Helpjapanco. And in a way, it's a pivot that I've decided to do this month because of new information. The only way your paradigm changes is with information, and information is the only way that you can change the world. It's the most powerful weapon. Knowledge, experience. And ultimately, Helpjapanco, helpjapan.co, right? Helpjapanco, is a project of Foundups Corp, or it may be independent, depending on how we set it up. I haven't decided. But ultimately, its goal is very simple, and that is to bring about the innovations that I have worked on the last 12 years to help Japan prepare for the end of growth. The end of growth is an event horizon that's going to happen in the next 20 years. And ultimately, what's happening is we're spending more of our natural resources than the earth can sustain. And the thing is this was predicted some 40 years ago, in 1970, by MIT supercomputers. So how are we going to focus on preparing Japan? Well, there's a number of different things that we're going to do, and one of them is I'm launching this month. It's called Beekeeping Japan. Beekeeping Japan is a grassroots effort to bring awareness to beekeeping, and as a very important social venture for Japan. My goal is for every small village like my own to at least have a beekeeper, right? And ultimately being able to distribute and provide honey at affordable costs to each and every community in Japan. The cool thing about Japan is it's filled with these little villages like the one I live in, and you have everything from little fish vendors going by. We can have a little honey. We can provide, we already have that market, so I have a way to distribute the honey. Every community can do that, and ultimately what we need to do is bring awareness to the plight of bees. Currently over 35,000 tons of honey is imported, and up to 50% of the bees are projected to have disappeared, died, because of systemic chemicals from Bayer. I don't know if they're using Bayer systemic chemicals, but there's plenty of evidence as a result of a documentary called The Vanishing of the Bees that basically talks about the problem of systemic pesticides. So awareness, education, obviously. So another project that Helpjapanco is going to do in preparing Japan is launching the Open Startup and using basically as a means to create a virtual Silicon Valley, a complete Silicon Valley, where ultimately innovators can be identified and can ultimately launch their ideas without any of the systemic problems that currently are inhibiting innovation. And there are three bottlenecks that I talk about. You can watch my presentation on that, which are basically what I call the funding bottleneck, the talent bottleneck, and the developing bottleneck. So these three bottlenecks are the three problems, kind of like Aubrey de Grey talking about how do we live forever. We have 6 problems. Well, in the startup, there's 3. Just 3 problems. If we can eliminate these 3 problems, then ultimately we can bring about the innovation revolution. So the Open Startup is a framework to do that, and I've spent the last 2 years developing it. Now, the third part of the solution that Helpjapanco is actually bringing about e-Singularity. E-Singularity is using technology, autonomous education solutions with AI to deliver education autonomously to individuals. And ultimately, this is a project that I started in 2001, and everyone thought was a crazy idea. The idea is this, is that both the school and the teacher are barriers to learning. when I am required to go to school or to have a teacher to learn, it becomes a barrier. It's that simple. So E-Singularity is that moment. There's 3 stages to E-Singularity. The first stage is providing basically education in math, science, and language arts at an 8th grade equivalent level, right, autonomously. Basically what it means is this, is I can hand them this device that I'm talking to right now, and it's going to teach a 2-year-old basically how to read. It's going to teach him math. It's going to teach him science to an 8th grade level without me having to interact with him, all right? He's going to do it autonomously as his friend. So Mikey here, right? Mikey loves his iTouch. Mikey can grab this iTouch, he can manipulate it, he can find YouTube on it, he knows how to navigate on it. He can't even speak, yet he can communicate with this platform. The problem with this platform is it can't communicate back with him. So think of E-Singularity as the moment that we use autonomous agents to basically interact with the child. It's that simple. So these are the 3 strategies. There's actually a 4th strategy. The 4th strategy of Helpjapanco is actually bringing federal contractors from around the world to help in preparing Japan, rebuilding Japan. So the simple fact is the tsunami is the best thing to have happened to Japan. Obviously, and I'm using a dialectic argument here, and the dialectic argument is this, is that yes, it caused great travesty and loss of life and everything else. However, it forces Japan to rethink how it's going to rebuild these communities, and ultimately if we rebuild them with the end of growth in mind, we ultimately can prepare Japan for this event horizon that's coming. An event horizon that's going to shake the world, it's going to change the world, and within 3 years, basically everyone's going to be talking about this end of growth as they are climate change. We're seeing some of the repercussions of it. Think of it as aches and pains, global, think of the Occupy movement, the financial collapse, what's going on in Europe and Iceland, all the financial markets are reeling because ultimately they're trying to adjust, and ultimately there's this unsustainable growth going on that's only going to affect things even worse. Yeah, that's a fire truck. I don't know what he's saying, but there's a fire truck over there. So my name is Michael Trout. I believe that I am what's known as a systems architect. A systems architect that focuses on changing paradigms. The problem is to invoke change takes one thing, capital. Capital that I don't have. I'm just an inventor. Think of me as, Nikola Tesla, right? I don't have any money, just like him. However, I have invented and come up with the systems that can bring about change in a very, very, very fast way. E-Singularity is going to, once we bring that about, is going to change everything so quickly it's not even going to be funny. The open startup, when we bring that about, when we launch that, again, it's going to change things very quickly because of the Open Corp and the OCC, the Open Corp Cloud Kiretsu. And ultimately bringing about a whole new kind of funder for innovation called the Archangel. An Archangel being a lesser stakeholder of one of our Open Corps that is reinvesting 80% of the net profits of these corporations to fight this end of growth, to bring about the innovations in your country, in your community that is needed. Open Corps are 100% transparent. You know what they're doing. You can see what they're doing. Unlike you can't do this with all corporations. No corporation in the world right now is 100% transparent. Open Corps will be. The other thing about Open Corps that's really cool is that they introduced the greater stakeholder, which I call the mob. You are the mob, right? The 99%. And ultimately, you have no say in what a corporation does. And ultimately, in the new model, the Open Corp model, basically you can fire the CEO. There's tremendous pressure on the CEO to look out, to balance the interests of A, the greater stakeholders, and B, the lesser ones. Ultimately, because the greater ones, the mob, determine whether or not that person is going to serve. Things like Halliburton fracking, or you could think of Union Carbide in India, or even BP at the Gulf. None of these situations have been dealt with in the appropriate fashion. The only reason why is because there's no pressure brought to bear on these CEOs. The moment the greatest stakeholder is introduced to the corporate model, and the beautiful thing is that we don't need these corporations to change, because the open startup is such a viral machine that we're going to create over 100,000 open corps by 2015, provided I can find the funding. My name is Michael Trout, just trying to broaden your paradigm and provide you the change that is needed for us to save this world. Say bye, Mike. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go. One archangel to another.